My name is Alfonso Severos, and this is the Peripheral View Show. The Peripheral View is my weekly series of short docs addressing those issues on the edge of the news. We have approximately 7.8 billion people on the planet. 7.8 billion. Of that 7.8 billion, about 200 million have been vaccinated. 200 million, that's about 3 to 4% of the population. So we have a long way to go. We need to vaccinate somewhere between 2 to 3 billion people to reach some kind of immunity on the planet and have the virus die out. So we're a long way from resolving this situation. In the United States, we have vaccinated about 40 million people. And of the 40 million, anywhere between 9 to 10 million have received both dosage, the first shot and the second shot. About 5 to 7% of those 40 million who receive the vaccinations, including those who receive both dosage, are African American. And that's a low percentage compared to the percentage of the population. And it's more than just a percentage of population. We know that the African American community and the Latino community are at greater risk. They are 2 to 4 times more likely to be infected, to develop symptoms, get sick, and die. This particular virus, the coronavirus, is a respiratory virus. It attacks the respiratory system. So people with any kinds of respiratory issues are at greater risk. But to understand a little bit on people's hesitation, let me begin by pointing out the differences between an epidemic and a pandemic. And the differences is primarily an issue of geography. An epidemic is a virus outbreak that's restricted to a given area or basically one country. A pandemic is a virus outbreak that includes a larger geographical area and cross countries. And that's the primary differences between the two, a pandemic and an epidemic. We are going to see much more pandemics, and we have seen pandemics since the beginning of human history. And pandemics, the thing about pandemics is that they exploit pre-existing conditions, and they don't affect the population equally. So if you have a group of people who have pre-existing conditions, they are more at risk than the other general population. And we see that here in the United States with the African American community and Latino community. And there are other contributing factors such as inequities in the health delivery system. Now, pandemics, we can go back to the plague as a pandemic. Smallpox was a pandemic. And we just reached global immunization with smallpox in 1980. We had the Russian flu of 1889 that killed over 1 million people. The Spanish flu of 1918 that killed anywhere between 30 to 50 million people. It infected 1/3 of the population. And understand why we have these names associated with different viruses. It's because where the outbreak first occurred. That's the only reason. And there is problems with doing that and associating with a name with a particular virus because it's misleading in many ways. And so, rightfully so, there's a group of the population that was highly offended when Trump was calling the coronavirus the China virus. And the only reason why is because the initial outbreak occurred. And what is an outbreak? An outbreak is nothing more than a virus that already exists, but in other species, somehow cross over, infects humans, and then spread. So we've seen these different viruses throughout world history. But we live in a global world now, a global world in which viruses can easily spread and become pandemics, cross boundaries. And many in the scientific community are past worrying about the coronavirus. They're concerned about the next virus. Now, this virus is no more deadly than other viruses. The major difference was our lack of preparation, our lack of early intervention that allowed the virus to spread to the extent that it did. If it was attacked early in January and February, the numbers will be completely different. And the thing about the spread of the virus is that the more people who are infected, the greater the risk of the mutation. So we allowed this virus to spread throughout the world, and we've already seen 4 mutations: the original coronavirus, the British mutation, the South African mutation, and the Brazilian mutation. Now, people have some hesitation about the vaccine, but you have to understand that this vaccine, the technology used to develop this vaccine, is something that was researched for over 10 years, the RNA technology. So even though the actual end product seemed to occur quickly, the research was done for years. And not only was the research done for years, it was a global effort with thousands of scientists and an unlimited budget. So we need to take these considerations. We need to make sure that people become vaccinated. If they don't become vaccinated, we increase the risk of the virus mutating, especially in the African American and Latino community, because they are at greater risk because of pre-existing conditions. And so when people say we need to wait and see, I'm not going to take the shot, well, there's 200 million people who've been vaccinated, and that should provide enough data. I recently was reading about the African Union, and within the African Union is the collaboration of all 55 states in Africa. You have the African CDC, and they are very concerned that the rich nations will gobble up the viruses, the vaccinations, and they will not be enough to vaccinate the people in Africa. And they're concerned about that pandemic spreading in Africa, and it is spreading. We see what's going on in South Africa, and not enough vaccination to treat the population of that continent. So I hope you got a little bit more information. I hope you go get your shot. And if you got your shot, tell people the necessity of making sure they're vaccinated. Thank you for watching. Please go to my YouTube channel, Alfonso Severos, Peripheral View, and subscribe. Thank you.